Hello there again, I'm Eugene and I'm currently a teacher for animation and graphic design courses here at a local university in Malaysia. And now, just as a reminder, if you would like to try this tutorial out and need this Photoshop file to do it, the link is in the description below. It will bring you to a Google Drive and you can get the Photoshop file for this little tutorial. Now this video is going to be about setting up a 3D camera and moving it in After Effects. Okay, so now let's get started. This is what we're going to try and achieve. Yeah, so it's basically, I've taken 3 pieces of artwork from my Instagram page. These are artworks that I've done over the past few years. And I've placed them in kind of like a Polaroid um, frame. So if we go ahead and look at this artwork, so we've got image 1, which is the first girl. Image 2 is this cactus monster thing, and image 3 is this three-eyed snail. So, and we would have the sky behind. If you plan to put a plain, it has a bit of a texture, which is actually something that you could have done in After Effects itself by using ramp. But if you did want to, I was actually intending to put some texture behind it, but didn't get to it. But nonetheless, I still put it at the back anyway. So the sky is a flat image behind. You can put one with some texture. Go ahead, open this Photoshop file, retouch it if you want to. But the main purpose of this video is how to create a 3D camera movement like this, right? Now, let's just start off with a new composition. Okay, I'm not going to create a new file. I'm just going to create a new composition and call this camera 3D camera scene. Okay, press OK. Now, as usual, I like to always keep my Photoshop files, my After Effects project file organized. So I'm going to have the same folders. Now I'm going to put my pre-comps into the pre-comp folder, and of course my image files into the image folder. Okay, so now 3D camera scene. Oops, I've got an E. Now what I'm going to do is chuck in first the sky and then those 3 images. Okay, so now obviously with these 3 images that I've placed in, once you first place them in, they are not 3D yet. You would have to activate them. You would have to activate the 3D option for these images, and where you do that is over here, okay, at the cube, this 3D cube button here. Okay, so I'm going to switch it all on for all the 3 images. And you can't see that it has turned 3D yet, other than the fact that you can see now that it has 3 arrows, which is the blue arrow. If you roll over that, that's the Z-axis. That's to move. The green one is to move it in Y-axis, and the red one to move it on X-axis. So in order to change the location, I want to disperse, as you can see in the earlier example, this one, they kind of are placed on different places in this environment. Okay, so what I'm going to do is the same thing, and how I'm going to do that, I will first switch my view. Instead of just one view, I'm going to change it now to 2 views. Why is that? Because it's a lot easier to arrange your work or your materials if you have 2 views once it's 3D. Okay, so this is the active camera view, and this is the top view. All right, how do I know if a window is selected before I start moving stuff? Just make sure that you have this triangular yellow tabs at the edge of the window before you start moving them. Okay, so the first image, I'm just going to move it off to the left, and you can see that it has moved off to the left. And I'm going to just move her up front a bit. The second image, which is the scary looking cactus guy. I'm going to push him to the back. And the last one, the three-eyed snail, I'm going to push him to the right. Okay, so now the camera is going to travel from the girl on the dinosaur to this cactus guy to the snail, right? So if we try and look at it from a custom view. So you've got your, I've just changed it to custom view here just to check. So you've got all these three photographs like this, and I'm going to change it now back to the top. All right. Okay, now how to create a 3D camera in After Effects. Just go to Layer, New, Camera. I'm going to choose a 35mm lens and press OK. If you want to know why I chose that, probably you could just Google up on focal length cameras, then you would know why. I'm not an expert in cameras, but I usually use a 35 or a 50mm for most of my projects. Okay. Now, okay, I've just positioned my camera here in front of the girl, and usually I would like to show you why I usually create a null and attach the camera to that null and move the null. Okay, now this is just a camera without a null. Okay, and if I wanted to move the camera, I press P and move the camera left and right. But the thing is, you notice that when I move the camera left and right, it is locked in on a certain area. Right? It is locked in on a certain area. What it basically is doing is, if you go to camera options, the focal distance, this is locked in, so it's pivoted right here. All right, so what you need to do is, and it becomes a bit cumbersome, because if you moved your camera, for example, if you were to move your camera like, oops, sorry, to the left, and if you wanted to move it horizontally, you would have to move the point of interest as well, and then move this and move this. So it is not easy to manage the camera on its own just like this. All right, so what I usually like to do is go to Layer, New, Camera, 35mm, okay. Now the next thing I'm going to do is go to Layer again, New, Null Object. Okay, now a null object is not automatically 3D. You have to make it 3D. You cannot parent the camera to the null without switching on 3D, because the camera itself is a 3D object. So you have to change this, and you also could name it as, I usually call it camera null. And before I parent it, I will click on the null. It is here. The camera is down here. So what I usually do, this is top view by the way, I will bring the camera, the cam null, all the way, as you can see, it just came nearer in this view to the camera lens. I'm going to bring it all the way up till the face of the camera right here. And then you can check once again, active front view. So the camera is here, the null is here. You can now parent the camera to the camera null. Okay, now let's go back to the top view. So when we moved our camera now, we don't move the camera's position. In fact, you can lock the camera. What I'm going to move is the camera. Now I'm going to position this, snap out the position, right, by pressing P. And if I wanted to move to the left, I can. And it's very easy. It no longer has this hassle of actually negotiating with the point of interest and then moving the position and then the point of interest like we did with the camera just now. So I can just move the null and the camera will move with it. Okay, so the controls for the position in the null is a lot easier to manage than the one built into the camera. Okay, so how we're going to move it is very simple. I'm going to just move the camera somewhere to the center of the picture. I'm not going to offset it by rotating it yet. I'm going to keep it simple first. I'm going to keep the motion simple before we add the pizzazz later on. So I'm going to keyframe the position here. Perhaps this will be the view at 1 second. But at 0, 0, I want the camera to start off away from these guys. So it's going to zoom in from 0 to 1. And then after that, it will stay here for a while for about probably 1.5 seconds. And I'm going to go close in here. And while it's staying here at the picture, while it's just kind of gazing at the picture, I'm going to just move the camera a little bit. Now, you will notice that when you snap the second keyframe out by moving it, you will have a line that comes up like this. And if you double check, the camera did not just move from here to here. What it did is, if you check, the camera moved all the way to the front beyond the point and then back again. Yes, it does do a funny thing like that. Okay, because what happens is these beziers snapped out. So if I go to the left view, you might be able to see what is happening, right? So yeah, it snaps out from the side. So, and if I were to lower this, you can see it actually goes up to the front and then to the back. So what you need to do to correct it is just take one of these beziers and slowly bring it back. Alright, and we're done. We're okay. So if you check once again, it moves from point A to point B, right? Instead of detouring out and then back. So if you look at this view right now, it's slowly moving into the image, which is what I want. Okay. Then the next thing I'm going to do is, after it's been here for a while, then it will zoom off to the next picture, okay, which is the cactus guy. So I'm going to move the camera to the right and then close up on him. Probably not so center, probably slightly off center. That's fine. And then we're going to stay here again for another 1.5 seconds. So it stops here at 3, maybe at 4. It will slowly do a zoom. Again, it does that funny thing. Don't worry, you can just slowly snap it back into position. It's fine. And then after that, it will zoom off very quickly to the next or last picture, which is the snail. Okay. So, ooh, it's right in front of the snail. Okay. So I'm gonna move with, I'm moving now with my arrow keys, and make sure that this is selected, because you are then moving the camera in a very controlled manner. Yeah, because if you were to do it here, it would be a bit tricky. All right, and never move your camera in a custom view, because you won't be able to figure out what is up and down, right? If you did it on one of the angles on top here, it'd be a lot easier because it's all working within 90 degrees. So front, top, okay. So let's move our camera out to position him right in the center, and the camera stays here for another, say, 1.5 seconds. Did I say minutes or seconds a while ago? I might have said minutes, but no, it's all seconds. This whole sequence is this whole composition is just less than 10 seconds. Okay, so let's move this, because it's kind of going detour again, so you want to push this back. And I noticed that while I was moving the position, this kind of snapped out again. So no, if this is too cumbersome, what you can do is you can go to the pen tool here, click on the convert vertex tool, and break the bezier and bring it back. and it will no longer trouble you anymore. Even this one, if you want it to move in a straight line, you can. Okay, all right. So we've got our cameras moving. Oh, in fact, you see, it's done it here again. So let's bring the convert vertex tool and just break that bezier, right? If you want it to curve out again, you just snap it. So it's a little bit like the beziers you get in Illustrator, right? Okay, so let's do that. And we're done. Okay, so we've moved the camera into 3 different locations and stopping at each location for about 1.5 seconds. So it zooms in, you look at here, and stays here for a while, then it moves off, stays here for a while, and then moves off again. Okay, so it's very simple. Keep your animation clean first, do the foundation movement first. That's what you want before you add in all those angles and stuff. Okay, so now is where we actually get a little fancy. So you can start bringing up, well, in fact, when the camera moves to this side, I actually do want it to curve slightly, so perhaps I should do a curve. You see, the curve for your camera is so much done easier on the top angle, so I would do that instead of looking at it from the custom view, because if you pull it this way, you do not know really how much you're pulling. Is it in the y-axis or the x-axis? So it's always safer to pull it from the top, and then you want to check it from the left. Yes, this is a little bit more cumbersome, but it's a lot safer. Okay, so we can add a little bit of angle here, and from the top view, let's check again, and let's see here. Oh, okay, let's break the bezier for this one as well. All right, so it does this, zoom out, zoom out. Okay, so we're done, and now let's add a little bit of angle to the camera by clicking on R. And I usually just like to, for my convenience, usually I like to keyframe all of it, X, Y, and Z. I don't usually touch rotate orientation. So when it comes here, I want to try and angle this picture slightly, like give it a little bit of a tilt, just to make it look nice and interesting. So I will do the same thing for the camera. I will tilt my camera, and once you tilt it, you'll notice, oh gosh, I actually have to move it as well and reframe it slightly. And we're okay. All right, so with probably not so much. Then it will look like we're just shooting it from the front. Okay, all right, so yeah, so it goes in, and usually when it stays here and lingers on the image, I like to add a little bit of a tilt. So I'm going to keyframe my Z rotation here and move my playback head all the way to here, and then move it to this side. So what you get is this, see? It's a slow tilt, and then it moves off, okay, to this image. And this one, I'm going to keyframe again all of this one here, so that when it comes here, I can do a different camera move like this and probably tilt it the other way. And what you get is from this to this. And then it stays here for a while. While it stays here for a while, probably I will angle it like this. Probably change a bit of the Y rotation, so it does a little bit of this. And then as it moves off again, I'm going to change the rotation and then the angle. And for this, well, I probably might just want to tilt it a little bit like that. Okay, so I have got all my keyframes done. So let's check again. 1, 2, 3. Okay, so once you're done, of course, please switch on all the graph editors, and usually I get a bit lazy here. I just select them all and hit easy ease so that the camera has a little bit of easing in and easing out, which makes it look a little bit more natural. But maybe I would be a little bit more diligent with this first one. When it zooms in, I want the curve to be quite specific. I want it to really have a quick crash, almost like a crash zoom. So it starts off slow and then it crashes right in. All right, so we've done that. Great. Maybe I would do that for all of the parts where the camera is changing. So I'm gonna just really push the easing in and easing out hard. Yeah, when I say hard, it means that it really just shoots up and accelerates, okay, as the camera moves. All right, so the last thing I'm gonna do is just add, what you can do with your camera is, now this, you have to get back to the camera, switch this on. I want to add a little bit, just a tad bit of depth of field. So I'm gonna, you can see depth of field is right here under camera options. So where it is, so you must go back to the camera. It's not in the camera now. Obviously, there's no depth of field in the camera now. It's in the camera. Drop this down, camera options. Drop this down, depth of field, switch on. Well, right now you can't see much. Let's get back to, well, let's not put one view yet. We'll just keep two views first. I'll take out the position so that I know where are the keyframes. Now, I'm going to increase my aperture a lot more, and then you notice the guy behind is starting to blur until a level I feel is good enough. Then I will stop. But she's kind of blurred off as well. That's because the focal distance, oh sorry, actually it's the point, the focal distance that we need to adjust. So I'm going to bring the focal, it's marked off by this yellow, this pink line. So I'm going to drawing it closer. This is the picture, yeah. If you look at this, is the top view. This is her picture, and I'm trying to bring the focal distance all the way to her so it intersects at where she is, and you can see she's a lot clearer, and this guy is completely blurred out. Okay, now why did I bring out the position for the cam null is because I'm going to keyframe the focal distance just in case it changes. Okay, so as it moves off to the moves, it is still lingering on her. It does move a little bit. You can see that the focal distance is off and she starts to blur. So that's where I'm going to just keyframe her, the focal distance one more time to always keep her in focus. So if you look at this pink line and you drag your timeline across from 0 to about, from 1 second to about, say, 209, which is where before the camera moves away to the other picture, you notice that the pink line stays on the image all the time. So she's always clear. And we're going to do that for the other two. So I'm going to keyframe this. Let's go to this guy. Let's push the focal distance to somewhere that intersects where the image is. And as the camera moves, make sure that I draw it back and then move away to the snail. Well, it's quite close, so it doesn't blur very much. And then there, and as it moves, we need to push it back because you can see it starts to blur, right? So just push it there, it starts to get clear. Yeah, it can get quite blurry if, let's say, your focal length is too short, your focal distance, sorry. So you see when I push it all the way here, it's all blur. So always make sure that that pink line from the top view is always intersecting with the image. Okay, so that's all actually. It's very simple. So just to recap, what I did first is I took my images, I distributed it according to the locations that I want. Then I bring in a camera. I do not use the settings, the position settings on the camera. What I do is I create a camera null. I bring it close to the camera, and then I parent the camera to the camera null, and that is what I move. Okay, and finally I just switch on. Once I've moved the camera, then I switch on um, what do you call that? the um, depth of field, the depth of field here under the camera options. Okay, and what I adjust is the focal distance to make sure that I keep the images sharp all the time. Okay, so just have a look. Let's snap this back to one view and preview. Well, probably put it at half, and let's preview it one more time. So there you go. All right, that's how you move your camera in 3D. And this is actually a little hack, by the way, this camera now that I've learned quite some time ago. All right, so that's about it. Thank you very much for watching. So for more videos on motion graphics with Adobe After Effects or illustration methods using Adobe Photoshop and Illustrator, please click on the subscribe button. And do follow me also on Instagram at eugeniosaurus.fu for more of my artwork like these ones on these Polaroids that I've made. I also have a Facebook page, by the way, by the same name. Both links are in the description below. I'll see you guys again soon. You might also want to check out some other videos, such as a beginner's video which teaches you the basics of After Effects, or learn about making 3D objects in After Effects.